when your missus is walking past. Crack, crack. Oh, fuck. Oh. I'm going to clean this thing up. It's got no gaskets at the moment. Already cleaned it post power cruise, and when you're running methanol, it's got to be cleaned out after basically every use. So the alcohol can stay in the bowls for the 4 days of power cruise, but once you get it home, it's got to be stripped and cleaned pretty much right away. Same with the rest of the fuel system. So I did that, coated it in WD, but as you can see, still pretty filthy. Going to clean it up. We got a new gasket kit from Holly. Quickfuel carb, Holly carb, same thing. We're going to clean it up with some of this stuff, which is a pretty pH neutral degreaser basically, and then oil it up with WD-40. We're also going to take the time to set the linkages up with carburetors. The primary throttle blade setting is quite critical to how the car's going to idle. So we can set that now by, I'll show you in a bit, we'll make the transition slots just barely visible. I think 20 thou is roughly how much you want to see of it. So I'll show you how we do that. And we actually adjust the idle using the secondary throttle blades. So we'll go through that and setting up the accelerator pump and all that sort of thing. But let's get going. Good to re-baseline the idle mixture screws when you do this. If your idle's set correctly, then just wind them in and count the turns, write them down. In this case, car was doing some pretty funky stuff. I wasn't quite happy with the idle, so I'm gonna reset it to 1.5 turns out, which is gets you in the ballpark basically. When we start it up again, when we're getting ready for Power Cruise next time, Power Cruise 2021, we'll play with it once it's warmed up and on the car. But I'll take these out, clean all the passages and stuff, and put them back in and set them to 1.5 turns out each. Thought I'd take some time out to show you what can happen if you leave methanol in fuel bowls. Just a disclaimer, I bought this carb secondhand. I have used it once, but if you don't clean methanol out of your fuel system, carburetor included, you can only imagine what it's doing to injectors as well. Let me just see if we can see that. Pitting. You can even see in the corner there, there's a little bit of rust from, it's come off the fuel bowl bolt. So, good visual representation of what not to do. Now I'm going to clean it up. There's nothing flaking off or nothing that's going to damage the fuel system. It just looks ugly, and if you leave it for too long, then you could quite a big gash in there actually. It could end up leaking or stuff the whole thing up. So keep your fuel systems clean. Have a go at the sight glass. She's cracked up pretty badly, so was going to reuse them, but I think I might. Yeah, you can see it's cut out there. It doesn't even make a full circle, so I'll get some new sight glass. Here's the O-ring that seals the sight glass to the fuel bowl, and this side looks alright. This is the side that touched the glass. This is the side that sees the fuel, and it is literally coming apart in my fingers. So good to check. If I didn't check them, if I didn't spend half an hour trying to rip the stupid Jesus clip out, could have leaked fuel everywhere. It's good to catch this stuff now rather than pay the price later, potentially. Far better to find this stuff now than potentially later on, causing heaps of dramas while you're out trying to have fun. You don't want to be worrying about stuff like an O-ring. What we'll do, we'll reassemble the carb. You can just access the sight bowl from outside the carb, so we'll get the carb rebuilt, cleaned up, ready to go. And once these new sight glasses, they're actually both cracked. Probably me trying to rip them out, whatever. We'll put the new ones in, new O-rings, new snap rings if we need them, and the carb will be good to go. Alrighty, that's the secondary side complete. Completely cleaned. I've left the sight glass out, like I said, but it's all tight. See the difference there between, that's the side I haven't done yet. This is the side I have done. Now we're going to do the primary side. If you're doing this and your carb has adjustable air bleeds, definitely take them out one at a time when you're cleaning them, because they're very easy to mix up. High speed and low speed air bleeds are completely different sizes. Here's what dried methanol looks like. It's in the bottom of this plug that sits on the opposite side to where you're feeding it. Obviously, methanol's just going to pool up all in there. You can see a little pool of it has dried at the bottom there. Looks like sand. Comes off with your fingers. It's gotta be clean, man. While I'm setting up the transfer slots, I thought I might grab the camera and give you a look. The transfer slots I'm talking about are here and here, and because this is a 4-corner carb, we got another one there and another one there. It's where the air signal comes from for the idle adjustment. So that hole there is where the fuel comes out, the idle fuel. So this is when you don't have the throttle cracked at all. And the way that these transfer slots are set, as in how much of the transfer slot that you can actually see, affects off-idle drivability like you would not believe. So while it's off, I'm going to take the time to set them now. So what I'm going to do is set them so that the amount of slot that's shown from the underneath of the carb is roughly looks like a square. So the measurement that you see kicking around online is 20 thou, and the slot is roughly 20 thou wide. So if you make it like a square, you've got 20 thou wide, 20 thou of the slot exposed. So I'm going to set that on the primary, and you do that by adjusting the throttle arm by this screw here. What I'm going to do is adjust the amount of slot shown on the primary side, and then leave it. And then if I need to make any idle adjustments when it's bolted back on the car, I'll do it using the secondary butterflies, because the secondary butterflies don't open until about there. And this is where all your drivability is at. And I know it's a powercruise car, but it does make a difference to how snappy it is and what it'll do with part throttle. So yeah, I'll go and set that up now. Show you where I've ended up with it. There you go. Might have just lost a whole bunch of footage, but anyway, so I was frigging around with the accelerator pump cam and trying to get it so that we had like instant response from this linkage setup here. It took out heaps of slack. Like, I had to take out heaps of slack rather. You can see that the nut's nearly just about fully backed off. The accelerator pump still is at the top of its travel, so I'm not depressing the pump at all. That's, if I push that up, it doesn't move around. But we've got instant, I'll try and stay still, watch this, bang, whoop, 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 whoop. Like even just the slightest push on that, it starts pushing down. So that's how I want it. And that's what's going to give you that crisp off idle crack. Alrighty, that's all done, all cleaned up. You can see the big pile of rags I've got over here. Super dirty. Like I said, I cleaned out the thing after powercruise last year. It's just a real quick one. Still heaps of dust, dirt, crud all over it. Inside wasn't too bad. Did find a piece of the what looked like the air cleaner stud that had come out and was resting on one of the throttle plates. Not good. So got that out, and yeah, pretty happy. It's looking good. So we've still got the sight bowl glass to go in. You can see how corroded and dirty it is in there. Nice new O-ring should seal it up nicely. And we'll be good to go. Gonna move on now. We're actually upgrading the fuel system in CUDDLES. It's borderline, and we took it last time. It's just got a Chinese Holly Black, and it just gave it enough fuel. Up top was leaning out a little bit, not too much. We put massive jets in it and we're able to pretty much empty the bowls, but it's not sustainable. So we've got a whole new fuel system to put in, and what we're going to do now is deinstall the old fuel system. Well guys, got a little out of hand there. Didn't record any of the ripping out of the fuel system. Yeah, fuel system too small, all -8 lines, just used a Chinese Holly Black, and it wasn't quite keeping up on the methanol at full throttle in top gear when it had traction, but otherwise it was fine. So stepping up to a bigger pump, stepping up in a big way. I'll run you guys through that shortly when we start the install. I just ran out of time today, but I've still got to clean out the fuel cell. There's a bit of gunk in there that we got to clean out, and then we can start building the new fuel system. So I'll probably run these two videos together and do it that way. But anyway, that's enough for today, and we'll catch you on the other half of this video.